After a torrential downpour washed out last night's game with Orleans, the Harwich Mariners returned to White House Field today to find a different kind of bird waiting for them in the form of the 1-1 Hyannis Harbor Hawks. While the Mariners have only scored one run in their first couple of games, the lack of power that almost hurt the team today came in the form of electrical issues that saw an eerie scene up until about 15 minutes ago with no lights or music here at White House Field. But thanks to the hard work of the Harwich community, the field, the stadium, and fortunately for us, the broadcast are all up and running ahead of first pitch, and we will have a normal ball game for you here in just a few minutes. Hello, everyone, and welcome into the broadcast booth. I'm Tyler Henry, joined again by Colin Casey. And Colin, once again, trying to preview game number 3 of the CCBL season. Let's try this again, shall we?
Yeah, after last night, it's refreshing to be back here with beautiful weather and a great crowd on hand at White House Field. Of course, the Mariners and Orleans Firebirds only made it to about the bottom of the third inning before the rains came, and they certainly didn't go away anytime soon. Canceling that game won't be made up. But now the Hyannis Harbor Hawks are in town, and it's a different Harbor Hawks team than the one we saw 2 years ago that really struggled. They were able to win their last game out. They're coming in at 1-1 with some momentum. I think we're going to have ourselves a really exciting ball game with a Harwich team trying to avoid going 0-3 for the first time since 2010.
Absolutely. Right now, only 2 winless or rather drawless teams in the league, and that is the Harwich Mariners and the Wareham Gatemen. The M's will send down Duke product Billy Seidel to start today's game. Seidel missed his freshman year due to the COVID-19 pandemic, but got a solid start with the Blue Devils as a sophomore this year, striking out 34 and allowing just 6 walks in 25 innings this season. So far, starting pitching is kind of in the bright spot for the M's through these first couple of games, Colin, and Seidel will look to add on to what is becoming a winning tradition, or not a winning tradition, but certainly a performance tradition for these starters here this season.
It certainly has been, and Cam Schlittler yesterday won't be shown on the stats, but he was really strong through about 3 innings, struck out 4 batters, I believe, through those first 3 innings. Seidel, another guy who's got strikeout stuff. The big concern with him is keeping the ball in the ballpark, as he did give up 6 home runs with Duke this past year. And the other thing is, he didn't make a lot of starts for Duke as well. I think he only started 4 games for the Blue Devils this past year, so he's looking to go deep into this ball game and have that strikeout pitch working against the Harbor Hawks.
Absolutely. We'll see how it works out. Let's take a look at the aforementioned Hyannis Harbor Hawks lineup. Stepping in to take his first at bat here will be center fielder Caden Rose. He will be followed in the lineup by shortstop Kyle Ball, then left fielder Mitch Hardigan, first baseman Mason Greer, and third baseman Luke Mann. Rounding out the lineup, DH Dominic Johnson, Jake Cunningham, the right fielder, catcher Caleb Pendleton, and second baseman Ryan Romero as we are underway. Caden Rose fouls the first pitch back to the backstop, and it'll be an early 0-1 count here for Billy Seidel. Let's also get a chance to take a look at the Harwich Mariners defense today. Behind Seidel, it'll be Winkle getting the start at catcher, then Brock Wilkin over at first, Corey Acton at second, Hal Hughes at short, and Josh Hood, your third baseman today. As the second pitch is on its way, that's in there for a called strike, and Seidel is out ahead 0-2. Your outfield for the Mariners today, Cade Beloso gets the start out in left. It'll be Nick Lucky in center, and Jake Lazaro out in right. See if Seidel's got that strikeout pitch working. He does have a couple pitches to waste here, and on the 0-2, he delivers it home. That'll be outside. Try to get him to chase nothing, do it.
Rose, one of the top recruits out of the state of Alabama, the 3rd-rated player overall, top-rated shortstop. No surprise to see him go to his home state school as a member of the Crimson Tide.
Absolutely. A lot of guys from the top conferences here as the 1-2 is in there for strike 3, no doubt about it. And down looking is Caden Rose, similar to, I believe, Colin, I'm going to just double check and confirm, the first 2 games of the season that counted, the Harwich Mariners starter begins the game with a strikeout.
Yeah, definitely promising sign so far, just like we saw in 2019. A lot of strikeouts from the starting pitching staff. The question is, will they get the run support that they haven't really had over the first couple of games? Just 1 run through the first 2 official games.
We will find out. That would remain the same even if the innings from yesterday had counted, as that game was still knotted up at 0-0. But for the time being, it'll be shortstop Kyle Ball stepping in for the Harbor Hawks. First pitch he sees, he'll take up and out. Harwich, of course, wearing their home creams, pants, and jerseys, with the red socks on the other side of things. Hyannis rocking the white pants with the pinstripes, blue jerseys, orange numbers trimmed in white. 1-0 pitch, off speed in there for a called strike. Of course, Seidel does have a lot of good stuff to work with. He'll work with a 3-pitch mix, fastball, slider, changeup. And we've seen the off-speed working here early on. Not an overpowering fastball, but he will deliver one home here, clocking it at about 91 miles an hour.
And this is a big summer for Seidel and a lot of sophomores like him because this sophomore class, a lot of them missed their freshman year due to COVID-19. So Seidel really trying to make a name for himself on the Cape.
And this is a great place to do it as he gets a swing and a ball fouled away. That'll even the count at 2-2 here on Kyle Ball. And, you know, obviously having the sophomore season at Duke or anywhere really, it's great. Those are numbers that scouts are going to look at. But I'm telling you, there's something about your time in the Cape Cod Baseball League that's looked at differently because everybody is one of those top 3 or 4 guys on their respective collegiate rosters. Seidel continuing to work out of the windup. The righty kicks and deals the 2-2. That'll miss in the dirt, and the count worked full here by Kyle Ball.
Yeah, Cape League can really make or break your draft stock. I mean, there are some guys who come in with a lot of momentum out of college and just struggle a little bit against these all-star caliber pitchers, and the scouts do pick up on it.
Payoff pitch lined right at the hot corner, but Hood there to glove it, and that is 2 away here in the first.
Now batting for the Harbor Hawks, number 28.
Yeah, Ball seemed like he was a little out in front of that, but still had some good wood. But right at third baseman Josh Hood, who just had to reach up a little bit. Nothing too tough for him over at the hot corner.
So that'll bring up Mitch Hardigan, who bats from the left side. First pitch that he sees is a fastball in there for a called strike at the knees, and the count starts at 0-1. Hardigan, a product from Florida Atlantic, claiming that extra year of academic eligibility coming off of his, in air quotes, sophomore season, as he will put a good bat on this, and it's a little blooper out into right center, a dive, but nowhere near picking that up as Lazaro. A for effort there, but comes up about 2 feet short of the ball. And the first hit of the day belongs to Mitch Hardigan. Hyannis setting up shop here with 2 away.
Yeah, Jake Lazaro knew that he had help coming over in the form of Nick Lucky, so he figured why not give it a shot and try to make that diving catch. Just needed a couple more steps to get there. Good job by Hardigan of keeping the inning alive for Hyannis.
And certainly one of those where he's just going to get the credit for the effort. He's not going to be laughed at for trying it. I've got a story we'll come back to, but for now, Mason Greer stepping in. Back-to-back lefties in the lineup here for the Harbor Hawks. First pitch misses down and in. Does the name Steven Souza ring any bells for you, Colin? Souza, of course, I believe he was on the San Diego Padres at the time, dove for a ball out in right field. He had to have been at least 12 feet short of being anywhere near it. Still to this day, one of my favorite dives that I've ever seen. As this ball is swung on and popped into foul territory, drifting near the Harwich bullpen, and that'll get safely out of play. But again, good to see Lazaro trying, and hey, if he gets the leather on it, that's going on SportsCenter's top 10.
I believe it was Souza when he was with the Nationals that actually made a diving catch to preserve a no-hitter.
It was.
For Jordan Zimmerman.
It was, yes. Absolutely. Sometimes you just get that confidence tucked away in the back of your mind, and it does not go away. Seidel trying to focus up here, a 1-1 count right now on Mason Greer. From the stretch, the righty kicks and fires. This one's going to be swung on, but taken right at Corey Acton, who scoops it up and tosses to first in time for out number 3. So the Harbor Hawks go quietly into their half of the first. To the home half we go. Mariners up 1-2-3. Coming up after this, you're watching the Harwich Mariners here on the Mariners YouTube network. Back to baseball here at White House Field. Tyler Henry alongside Colin Casey. And let's go ahead and take a look at the starting pitcher here for the Hyannis Harbor Hawks. It'll be Hunter Dula, the righty, getting the start today. Dula, one of those guys that a new arrival to the Cape and really getting thrown right into the fire here, Colin.
Yeah, he was actually activated today his school, Wingate, just won the Division II college baseball championship, so he's got a lot of momentum coming in. The right-hander looking to kind of continue what the Harborhawks have done on the mound so far. As a team, they have a 3.71 ERA through the first 2 games, so pitching certainly hasn't been a problem for the Harborhawks. And Tyler, if you remember 2 years ago, that was a huge struggle for Hyannis, was they weren't getting starts that would have supported their team's bats. So Dula trying to keep that momentum going and shut down a Mariners lineup that's trying to get a spark.
Yeah, to be fair, there wasn't a lot going for Hyannis back in that
Right.
2019 season. I'm sure that's going to be kind of the point that gets hammered upon by every broadcast crew in the country or in the league this summer. But we were there. They should have had one of the best teams on the Cape, and then they ended up with one of the worst teams. We'll get into that here in just a moment. But first, let's set the lineup here for the Harwich Mariners. Looks very similar to what we saw yesterday. Nick Lucky will get the start at the leadoff spot. He will be out in center field, followed by second baseman Corey Acton, first baseman Brock Wilkin, and left fielder Cade Beloso in the cleanup spot. Hitting fifth, third baseman Josh Hood, then catcher Pat Winkle. Designated hitter today is Andrew Jenkins, and rounding out the lineup, Hal Hughes at short and Jake Lazaro out in right. So Nick Lucky stands in, and he will get the first look at Hunter Dula here, who, as you mentioned, has got to be pitching just amped up, coming off of a Division II championship. And I'll tell you what, you want to talk about building a case for some scouts coming off of a performance like that. If he puts together a good Cape League season, these are the kinds of guys that we see come out of nowhere and end up on draft boards, Colin.
Yep, that Cape season is really big for those small school guys, because a lot of scouts might not be heading to those small schools to look at a guy, as that pitch is fouled straight back, to look at a guy that is lighting it up. Nick Sinicola, I think, is a good example of a guy who's all of a sudden really being paid attention to, and he was able to back up his strong season at Maine in his opening day start against Orleans.
Absolutely, and that's important because that same bias can go the other way on you as the 1-1 is swung on and fouled away. That'll put Nick Lucky in a 1-2 hole. It can go the other way on you if you're one of those smaller guys with big numbers at the D2 or D3 level, and then you come into the Cape League and you really struggle. A lot of times that gets guys dismissed sometimes. And again, we're not saying that negatively. That's kind of just the outlook that some of these scouts can have. So it's just an interesting situation to keep an eye on. The 1-2 is just high, says home plate umpire Jason Klump. That'll give us a chance to introduce you to our umpiring crew today. Jason Klump gets the start behind the dish. Brandon Johnson is your first base umpire. And over at third, it'll be Michael Hinahula. This ball is popped foul, and the count goes here to 2-2.
Yeah, a little more on Dula. 7-2 record with a 3.38 earned run average through 64 innings for Wingate. Started 11 of those 12 games, so he's no stranger to being a starting pitcher.
Absolutely, and as you mentioned, getting thrown right in at the deep end here. His 2-2 pitch is on the way. That'll miss in the dirt, and it'll be a full count here to Nick Lucky, trying to get Harwich started. Let's go take a look at the defense here for the Hyannis Harborhawks. It'll be Pendleton getting the start behind home plate. Greer at first, Romano at second, Ball at short, and Mann, your starting third baseman today. Payoff pitch. Swung on and fouled away as Nick Lucky spoils it, and we'll do it again. Your starting outfield for the Harborhawks today. It'll be Hardigan out in left, Rose in center, and Jake Cunningham getting the start out in right. 3 balls, 2 strikes, nobody out to the Harwich leadoff hitter, Nick Lucky, batting from the left side. Here comes another payoff pitch, and Lucky will foul this one away as well. So a good battle on our hands here in the opening batter of the home half of the first.
That long at-bats, can't hate on those if you're Coach Englert. Good job driving the pitch count up early and often.
3-2 again. This time Lucky connects and sends this out to straightaway center field, but it should be easy for Rose, who settles under it and makes the catch for the first out of the inning. So going back to the point that we made here a little bit earlier as Corey Acton strides to the dish, this was a Harborhawks team that if you look at the makeup preseason, they had a lot of really good talent on that team back in 2019. The problem was it was too good. They had several guys get drafted. They had the most players that went to play for Team USA out of any team on the Cape, and what was left over just was not good enough to win a lot of ball games as they finished that season 9-41. First pitch misses high here to Corey Acton.
And you have to feel for those guys that came in a little bit late when the team was already kind of in a downward spiral, because it's so hard to be able to keep that focus and that will to play when you know you're that far out of a playoff position.
Big swing and a miss here by Acton. Yeah, that was part of the problem, too. You can kind of tell, especially in those later games that we called that season, a lot of the guys on Hyannis were just ready to go home. And they were obviously the first team eliminated from that spot potentially in the playoffs. But a much renewed vision here this season. A lot of really good talent this year in Hyannis. You know, it's still early in the season, but we'll see. They could emerge as a contender out in the West as Acton fouls this one back to the screen, and the count goes to 1-2.
Yeah, it's a great thing about the Cape League. Just so much roster turnover that if you have a bad season, it's unlikely that you're going to be running the same group back, so you get a bunch of fresh faces out there, and that's all a ball club can really need here on the Cape.
Yep, absolutely. Here comes the 1-2 to Acton. That'll miss upstairs and a little outside. Count goes even at 2-2. I will say, though, I had a chance, Tim Foley and I were down field side a couple days ago talking to Coach Englert, and he said that this could be kind of a bigger issue for certain teams this year because the season did start a little bit later, and you're going to have a lot of guys with that extra year of academic eligibility, a lot of older guys on the Cape this season that could end up getting drafted. So you'll probably see more early departures this season than you do in a typical year.
And on top of that, the draft's later as well. Draft's usually in June. It's going to be in July this year, so we could see a completely different roster or set of rosters following that draft.
Absolutely. Payoff pitch to Acton, swing and a miss, strike 3. That'll be the first strikeout of the day for Hunter Dula. And it's 2 up, 2 down here for the M's, who send Brock Wilkin to the plate.
Yeah, Dula not overpowering stuff with his fastball. It's been sitting in the upper 80s. That time he hit 90. So, again, if you have deceptive off-speed, that fastball can look a lot faster than it actually is, and I think that's what happened there with Acton, who just couldn't catch up to it.
Well, and he looks very confident, which, again, I think that's a part of it, too, for some of these younger guys, as his pitch will miss down and in here to Brock Wilkin. You can tell some of the guys do feel a little overmatched by the lineups that they face, but the ones that really do succeed in the Cape are typically the ones that do have that confidence. It doesn't matter what you're throwing. If you know how to locate it and you feel confident in it, you're going to find success. 1-0 on the way. Big swing and a miss there by Brock Wilkin. And that'll be a 1-1 count.
Yeah, Wilkin coming in 3 for 6 on the season. He's done a nice job of putting the bat on the ball. Question is, will we see some more extra base hits, as Wilkin's the only one on the team who has one thus far?
Certainly. A lot of low numbers there as this pitch will miss down and away. Count goes to 2-1. We've already mentioned it a couple of times. No need to continue beating the same drum. But again, Wilkin does have the power numbers. You look at what he put up at Wake Forest this season, slugging .617 on the year. 17 home runs, 44 RBIs. And he takes a big rip at this, but gets under it, pops it high in the air out to left field. Hardigan coming in, drifting out and making the catch is Ball from his position at short, and that will do it for the first inning. 3 up, 3 down for the M's. We go to the second. You're watching Mariners baseball here on the Mariners YouTube network. Back to baseball here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Tyler Henry alongside Colin Casey as we get set for another inning of action, another inning of work coming up here for Billy Seidel. And so far, so good for Seidel. Gives up just the one hit to Mitch Hardigan back in the top of the first. And I think especially because, again, Harwich does have all those returning guys, people are just settling in a little bit faster here this season, it seems, than they do in other years.
It certainly seems that way. We know Hal Hughes, of course, a returnee. Evan Shawver, who looked even better than he did in 2019 in his first start right here against YD. I think there is that sense of home of these guys coming back and realizing, hey, we've been able to do this before, and we had success 2 years ago.
Absolutely. Here's a ball hit high in the air out to left, tracking it all the way back to the warning track, but making the catch is Cade Beloso. And that is one away here as Luke Mann flies out to begin the second.
Cade was able to catch that ball in front of the wall, but his momentum kind of carried him a couple of steps back into the wall. He got turned around a little bit the last second, but a good job of tracking that ball. It seemed like it was carrying in the wrong direction if you're a Mariners fan, but Beloso listed as an infielder, but also a really strong outfielder as well, so he's a very versatile player when it comes to defense.
And especially early in the season, they'll try guys out at different spots. Beloso was the starting left fielder yesterday and the day before that. Actually, he's been left for all 4 games that we've started so far this season. So.
Yeah, he had been listed on the roster initially as an infielder, but we see him so far this year in the outfield in Harwich, and certainly looks like he's familiar with the position.
0-1 from Seidel, weak ground ball to third, charging in, picking it up as Hood throws to first in time for the second out of the inning.
Good looking start so far from Seidel. The one hit he gave up was that bloop single out in right center. Good job pitching with confidence. He's been able to attack. We saw that strikeout against Rose to lead off the game, and now he's able to just kind of pound the strike zone, not really worrying about getting taken deep.
The next man he'll face is Jake Cunningham. His first pitch to the right-hander is just on the outside part of the black for strike one. That was kind of the word that we heard too. And again, it's the same for every Cape League season, talking about the makeup of the team. But it'll change throughout these first couple of weeks as guys start to arrive. We were walking around the dugout, saw a couple of the guys from Notre Dame are here now for the Harwich Mariners. I don't believe they've been activated on the roster yet, but guys that we'll start to see getting some playing time over the next couple of days. And then, of course, a couple of guys still playing out in the College World Series for a number of these teams. And always kind of interesting as a broadcaster or a member of the home media. Seidel delivers the 0-2. This one swung on and chopped to short. It'll be picked up by Hughes. Routine throw to first, but it's going to be just past the glove there of Brock Wilkin. And a runner aboard here with 2 away.
Excellent job, though, by Pat Winkle getting down the line and backing up Wilkin to prevent the runner moving from first to second as that throw got past Wilkin. It kind of handcuffed him. Hal Hughes made a solid throw. It looked like it was on line from our vantage point, but it gets through Wilkin, but Winkle right there to back it up. A really heads-up play by the UConn catcher.
Yeah, still waiting on an official ruling on that. We'll get that as soon as we have it. But right now, a sizable lead for Jake Cunningham as the first pitch to Caleb Pendleton, the Harbor Hawk catcher, is off the plate for ball 1. But yeah, again, a lot of guys that, you hope as a media team, you want to see the guys that are supposed to be here get here. But at the same time, it's hard to root against guys that you're going to be covering throughout the entire season, which makes the College World Series interesting at this phase. Another ball hit at Hal Hughes, and this one eats him up right through the legs of Hughes. And the runner tries to take off for third. Throw is wild, and that gets all the way back to the backstop, eating it wisely there. It looks like is Wilkin. And my goodness, what a mess of a play that was, as it eats Hal Hughes up at short, goes into center field, Lucky picks it up, airmails it back to the dugout. And now you've got 2 runners in scoring position with 2 away for Ryan Romano.
Yeah, that ball was hit hard by Pendleton, but it was right at Hughes, and like you said, the ball just exploded on him and ended up redirecting into left field. That's actually the 3rd error of the season for Hughes, and it's not something you see too often from Hal Hughes. We were accustomed to his really strong defense, and you hope it's just kind of an aberration for him.
And boy, errors really starting to add up here for the Harwich Mariners. Already 3 of them. And we're not even through the top half of the second inning. Seidel delivers a strike to Ryan Romano. Romano, the Harbor Hawks second baseman, an opportunity to play the hero here and get his team on the board. Prime opportunity. Seidel needs to settle in. 0-1 pitch, swung on and missed. And he is out ahead 0-2. Perfect spot for Seidel to be in.
Yeah, good to see him get ahead after those last 2 errors being made. shows that he's still in the zone, hasn't lost focus despite things out of his control.
Certainly easy as a pitcher to get rattled after something like that, but nothing you can do but settle in and try to get the hitter, especially with 2 outs. Here comes that 0-2. That'll miss off the plate. Good block there by Winkle. And the count goes to 1-2.
Yeah, despite the woes defensively from Harwich in this inning, Pat Winkle has been outstanding. The fact that he was able to back up that play, keeping Cunningham at first, so far has saved a run because he would have scored on that second error.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one thing the defense, again, despite the errors, guys backing up has been crucial to keeping Hyannis off the board. But Harwich not out of the woods yet. Seidel settles in. Romano digs in. Here comes the 1-2. That's swung on and taken into left, and that's going to score at least 1 run. They will go ahead and send the runner, and the throw will not be in time. So it's a 2 RBI knock for Ryan Romano. And as it seems to go in baseball, the errors or walks, depending on which you get, typically find a way to come around to scores. Hyannis takes an early 2-0 lead.
Great piece of 2-strike, 2-out hitting from Ryan Romano. Not trying to do too much, just trying to find a hole on that left side of the infield. And with going on contact, Pendleton got a great jump from second, was able to score easily. So Hyannis getting the bats going early. It's going to be important for Harwich to break out of this slump if they want to pick up their first win of 2021.
Yep, and that will flip the book back to the top as strike 1 delivered to Caden Rose. Rose started his day with a looking strikeout at the hands of Billy Seidel. So far, the only K he's recorded first time through the book.
Of course, both those runs not charged to Seidel.
Of small comfort, but it'll help his stats out. There's a delay. I shouldn't really say a delay. That was a stumble.
Yeah.
As Ryan Romano tried to take off for second, but the Dirt Monster reached up and got a hold of his cleat. And it's a good thing that ball was fouled away because we know what Pat Winkle can do behind the dish, and I guarantee you he would have been hosed by a mile.
And you wonder if he might have kind of picked up a damp spot or some area of the dirt over between first and second after the rains came in and washed the field away last night.
Seidel ready here for another 0-2 pitch. Here it comes. And that'll miss down and away. Another delayed steal. Throw down to second's a good one, and he got him. So once again, we talked about Pat Winkle's arm, and he shows it off there. Guns down Ryan Romano at second, and that will end the inning. But not before the Harbor Hawks strike for 2. They lead it 2-0. Mariners back up to bat, looking to get those runs back when we come back. You're watching Harwich Mariners baseball here on the Mariners YouTube network. Welcome back to the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Tyler, Henry, Colin, Casey, home half of the second coming at you. Heart of the order due up here for the M's with Cade Beloso, Josh Hood, and Pat Winkle. And Colin, not the ideal start for Harwich. 3 errors on the board, 2 runs come across for the Harbor Hawks. But these are the kinds of moments that Harwich is going to have to fight through and, again, try to come back and battle their way back into a lead.
Yeah, most frustrating thing about it, bases were empty with 2 outs. They got the first 2 outs of the inning, and then just disaster struck.
First pitch misses just off the plate here to Cade Beloso. Beloso's been one of the bright spots offensively for the M's so far this season, putting the pieces together here early. As the 1-0 pitch is on the way, that one will miss up above the letters, making a 2-0 count.
Yeah, one of the things we talked about is how important this Cape League season would be for Cade Beloso because he did struggle a bit this year with LSU. clean slate here on the Cape, and he's made the most of it through the first couple of games.
Absolutely. 2-0 pitch, swung on and taken near the right side, and that's going to get under the glove of Romano. We'll see how they rule it. Likely, hopefully, though, going to be a hit there for Cade Beloso, as that would have been a tough play to make, and that will, in fact, be a hit for Cade Beloso. So the leadoff man aboard. This is good. Harwich has found a way to do this. The next stage is getting those guys around, as kind of yesterday and certainly the day before that against YD, they got the leadoff man on quite a bit, but a lot of double plays and a lot of fielders' choices just did not move anyone into scoring position.
The big issue, really, if you look at all these hits they've gotten this year, they now have 14 hits on the year. 13 of them have been singles.
Everyone's out here looking like Max Troiani from 2019.
Yeah, that's right.
As Josh Hood will offer at the first pitch, and it's an 0-1 count. He'll stand back in as Hunter Dula looking for another clean frame. Dula kicks and fires, as fouling this one back is Hood, and he falls behind 0-2.
Yeah, I know Troiani was I think he was a 3-hitter for Orleans, but he would have made a great leadoff hitter with the amount of singles that he got.
And that was seemingly all he hit. That was the crazy thing. I think at the end of the season, he was top 3 in the Cape Cod Baseball League in hits, but he had one extra base hit, and it was an accident because the center fielder let it go under his glove, as this one misses outside, and the count goes to 1-2 on Josh Hood.
Hey, as long as you get on base.
Absolutely.
Billy Bean and the Oakland A's are certainly probably looking into him come this July.
I'm sure probably a lower salary contract guy potentially as well. So 1-2 is swung on and taken out into right field down the line. This one drifting into foul territory, reaching his glove out but unable to make the catch is Greer. And the count stays here at 1-2. Good job here by the Mariners, continuing to fight off pitches when they get down in counts.
Yeah, despite them going down in order in the first inning, they did make Dula throw a lot of pitches. He's now already at 26. So at the very least, you're making the opposing pitcher earn it in these early innings, which is certainly a step in the right direction for the Mariners at the plate.
It's also interesting because, typically you talk about, trying to get to a bad bullpen, but this early in the Cape League season, no one really knows how good any of these bullpens are. So you don't know if you'd be better off facing the starter or trying to knock the guy out of the game, as this pitch is fouled away and the count stays at 1-2. I wanted to go back and make a point here. We were talking about the runners that Harwich has stranded. So far this season, through these first couple of games, they have stranded 22 runners in 20 innings. But only 4 guys all year, including the run that came across the score against Orleans this season, have reached third base. So this ball is going to be popped up high in the air, back to the backstop, and running out of real estate there is Pendleton. But that's insane. I mean, again, only 4 guys have reached or passed third base this year for the M's.
And if you look at the stats through the first 2 games, I think a lot of it stems from the Mariners not getting a whole lot done with less than 2 outs. A lot of their hits come with 2 outs, so they put themselves in these positions where they have runners on base, but they already have 2 outs, so they're really banking on getting that 2-out single, and just hasn't really happened.
1-2 in the dirt. They will check down to third. No chance he went. And the count even at 2 balls and 2 strikes. The beautiful thing about this, Colin, though, is it's the Cape Cod Baseball League, and these numbers are going to be completely meaningless about 4 days from now, for better or for worse. As early on in the year, a lot of things can turn around for a team. And as you mentioned, with the number of guys that are going to be departing with the draft, it could really be a tale of 2 completely different seasons for a lot of these teams. 2-2 fouled off, and another good fight here, this time by Josh Hood.
Yeah, it's going to look like almost if you played the first half of the season and then just had a fantasy draft or something in the middle. I mean, it's really going to change a lot of things. Team USA, you have the draft, and we haven't even talked about the unfortunate part of the Cape League, which is injuries. They happen all the time, and it's another unpredictable nature of the beast.
Yep, you have injuries, and you also have guys that'll just depart early as swing and a miss here. That'll be strikeout number 2 for Hunter Dula as he gets Josh Hood. But again, Hood with a good battle there, and he does not go down without racking up the pitch count just a bit for Hunter Dula.
Yeah, Dula pulled the string with that one. 80 miles an hour. Looked like he had the changeup. A pretty good 10-mile-an-hour difference between fastball and changeup. And if you ask any hitter, that is a significant difference.
Yeah, it may not sound like a lot to someone who doesn't play the game, but again, you ask any of these guys, and again, you kind of do have to sit on a pitch with some of these guys and kind of pick your spots. First pitch delivered to Pat Winkle is in there for a strike. Winkle, of course, in the lineup a couple of days ago against the YD Red Sox, had a 2-for-3 afternoon. Trying to build upon that here, one of the returning veterans for the Harwich Mariners. And the next pitch he sees is just off the plate, count even at 1-1.
Yeah, Winkle was the DH in yesterday's game before it was discontinued, so he's getting a day off from being behind the plate, but Mariners do need his bat in the lineup. We've seen what it's capable of when he gets hot.
Absolutely. 1-1 pitch. That'll be low as well, and the count goes to 2-1 as Hunter Dula, he still looks comfortable, but he does not look as comfortable pitching out of the stretch I've noticed so far in this game. And part of that is just that you have the threat of a runner on, but at the same time, see if the Mariners can take advantage of that here. The 2-1. Big swing and a miss. And coming up empty there is Winkle, who evens the count at 2-2.
Second baseman Romano is shading pretty far towards that second base bag, so if Winkle can kind of roll over on one and get it through the right side, got a lot of space there. Belosso's got some decent speed, so might be able to make it to third on a single. Even
more space right now with Greer holding the runner on. This one gets by for the moment. Late steal, throw down to second, but it takes him off the bag, and in safely is Cade Beloso. Read that one beautifully as it just narrowly gets under the glove there of Pendleton, and that is enough for the Mariners to put a runner in scoring position here with one away.
Yeah, I think Romano thought he got him on the heel before Beloso was able to get the hand in at second, but with how high the throw was, you're not really going to get the benefit of the doubt of a call like that. And, of course, there's no instant replay here in the Cape League, so just a decent effort behind the plate from Pendleton, but the throw just a little bit too high.
Of course, even if there was instant replay here in the Cape Cod Baseball League, the umpires would be looking at the same view that you all have at home, which is very good, but for down to the micropixel replay, probably not something that would really enhance the league. It would certainly make the games longer, though, I will say that.
Yeah, you can't really rely on it from that vantage point there. Our producer, Matt Lucy, is certainly doing the best he can zooming in on it. So if they were to have issues with instant replay, we'll definitely just kind of point the finger at him.
Fair enough. 3 balls, 2 strikes, 1 away. Mariners have Cade Beloso in scoring position. Winkle at the dish. Here comes the payoff. This one swung on and taken down the line, but foul. As that ball got over the fence, he really got around on it, and I will say, after last night's rain, it just continued to carry.
Yeah, he hit that one on a line, and I think Pat knew it had the distance, but couldn't quite will it fair. Straighten that one out. Mariners are going to be on the board.
As you like to point out, Colin, just .330 to the poles out in right and left here at White House Field. Of course, 400 to straightaway center, as this field does share with Monomoy High School. So another 3-2 coming. Winkle digs in. Dula stares him down, checks the runner, brings home the pitch. Swung on and taken high in the air out to straightaway center. About 6 steps in is all that will be necessary for Rose, who gloves it for out number 2.
Another long at-bat for the Mariners, just not resulting in anything. But again, if you keep it going in this direction, eventually Dula's going to have that high pitch count. He's already now at 38 pitches, and he's going to be more susceptible for leaving a pitch over the plate, especially in these full counts that the Mariners just haven't quite taken advantage of at this point in the season.
Well, and you got to think, too, when these guys come up for their second time through the lineup, they will have seen him for more pitches than they would have if they had been swinging at the first couple. So definitely a little bit more of the mental notes in the back of the minds of some of these players. First pitch in there for a called strike to Andrew Jenkins, the DH today, batting from the right side. Plenty of other games going on around the Cape Cod Baseball League this afternoon. The Bourne Braves on top of the Falmouth Commodores 4-0 in the top of the 4th. Brewster Whitecaps Chatham Anglers will get to work later this evening, as will YD, visiting the Wareham Gatemen, and the first off day of the season goes to Catuit and Orleans.
I'm sure they'd wish to be back in action, though, after Wednesday's games were washed out. Only one game was, in fact, completed. Or, I'm sorry, I should say Tuesday's games were washed out, and only one game was completed yesterday.
Here comes the 1-1. That'll miss down and away, and the count goes here to 2 balls and 1 strike on Andrew Jenkins. And yeah, that's going to be interesting because as we've mentioned a time or two so far, Colin, those games will not be made up. You lose a game, you lose a game. And that's why if you saw on the graphic, instead of tweeting out of 40, this is now game 3 out of 39 for the Harwich Mariners. 2-1. That'll miss inside. Count goes to 3-1 here on Jenkins.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, but really with the season starting 10 days later than normal, the league's put in an impossible situation of trying to have to reschedule games, and it can really become a mess if some teams have more rainouts than others. So better to be safe than sorry, and I think it's the right decision here to try to limit as much travel as possible.
3-1 in there for a called strike. Taking a step towards first was Jenkins, but now he'll have to step back in with a 3-2 count. So again, Cade Beloso on second base. Hunter Dooley looking to get out of this with no damage done. Andrew Jenkins at the plate. 3 balls, 2 strikes, 2 away here in the home half of the second. Dooley sets, brings home the payoff pitch, and that'll be spoiled again. And Harwich continuing to do what they do best. And this is something that translates year to year too, because we saw a lot of this in 2019, obviously with a much different roster, but having these good defensive at-bats, not necessarily going for the home run ball as often and just kind of letting the game come to you. That's something that Coach Engler preaches year in and year out. Dooley continuing to work from the stretch here. Righty comes set, payoff pitch. And that one is hacked this time at the Harbor Hawks dugout, and we'll do it again.
Yeah, at this rate, the Mariners are going to probably work into the Harbor Hawks bullpen by about the 4th inning, as the pitch count now up to 46 in an inning and 2/3. Dooley, to his credit, he's battling and has won most of these battles, but it's really taking a lot out of him early in this ball game.
Yeah, typically you hear numbers like that, you'd think the Mariners were on top by 4 or 5 runs. This ball swung on and struck well out into left center, but plenty of time to settle under it and make the catch for Rose, who's been busy out in center field today, and that'll do it for the second inning. Still a 2-0 lead for the Harbor Hawks. You're watching Mariners baseball here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Welcome back to White House Field. Tyler Henry alongside Colin Casey as we get set for the 3rd inning of action here. And it'll be the top 3 in the lineup due up for Hyannis. Caden Rose, Kyle Ball, and Mitch Hardigan. Rose, of course, at the plate again as Ryan Romano was thrown out trying to swipe second. But on the bright side, he gets to wipe the count clean, which is certainly favoring him as he was at risk of striking out for a second time today. Another inning of work coming up here for Billy Seidel. Brings the first pitch home, and that is just a bit high for ball 1.
Shadow's starting to creep in. There's a little bit of a bright spot in between home plate and the mound. You wonder if that might be an issue for hitters.
This ball swung on and hit high in the air. This one drifting over near the Harwich bullpen. Some fancy footwork being done there by Josh Hood. That's dangerous when you see a guy run up into the raised section of the bullpen over in foul territory. He didn't even look down, but he seemed very aware of where he was. Unfortunately, no chance to make the catch as that drifted a bit further out.
Yeah, a lot of these fields on the Cape do have the bullpen in play. No Harwich, of course, being one here at White House Field. I believe the Commodores as well. Falmouth does have one, at least one of them. And they might be one of those teams where they have one in play and one out of play. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head.
As the 1-1 pitch is swung on, and this one rifled at Hughes, but he comes up with a diving stop, picks, throws to first in time. Hal Hughes flashing the leather out there at shortstop, makes up for a couple of errors earlier. Maybe not completely with the score still being 2-0, but he will certainly gain the benefit of that play as the Mariners put the first out away.
Now, that's more like it from Hal Hughes. We've seen him make great plays time and time again, especially 2 years ago. Deep in the hole there with Rose going down the line, the leadoff hitter, so you know he's got a lot of speed. But the ball was just hit so sharply that he was able to get it out of his glove quickly and make a strong throw across.